well, I was looking at your resume and some of the things you've done prior to this, because you are relatively new to being a literary agent, certainly not new to publishing, because you were an editorial assistant, you said foreign rights manager, you were a literary scout. So if you would just kind of help out myself and esteemed audience, let us know kind of what each of those roles entails and what you've been doing prior to this.
Yeah, sure. So literary scout is a really interesting one that a lot of people don't know about. I certainly didn't know what a literary scout was until I think the day before I interviewed for that job. So, but really, literary scouts help foreign publishers to decide what books they should buy for their markets. So, there's probably now, at the time, there were only about 3 or 4 children's scouts, and now there's quite a few more than that. And I was also doing nonfiction scouting because of my journalism background and my interest in nonfiction. But basically, as a scout, you talk to all the foreign rights managers, you talk to different literary agents and different editors, and you find out what books that people are talking about and buying, and what books should you recommend to your clients. And your clients are foreign publishers, so you can represent somebody who's in Spain, and then you can represent somebody who's in Japan, and basically you get to know their lists very well, and you help them curate their own list in their own country. It's a really specialized job, and it's a really wonderful job. It gives such a great overview of all of publishing, and it also allows you the opportunity to travel and also to see material before it gets published. And it's a lot of fun. I think literary scouting is a great sort of entry way into publishing for anyone who's sort of interested in a more global perspective. I absolutely am still really close friends with all the people that I met when I was a literary scout.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful way to get started. I don't know how practical it would be now that you've got a 6-year-old to be traveling as much.
I do still travel quite a bit, but not. So as a foreign rights, after that, I moved on to foreign rights director, and you still go to I would go to the Bologna Book Fair, and then I'd go to the Frankfurt Book Fair. And then I would do other trips, whether I would do aside. I've been for work to Paris. I've been to work for. I've been to Russia. I've been to all over Scandinavia, which was incredible. I've been to Brazil and a couple other places. I'm sure I'm forgetting. But it's just such a wonderful way to see the world, to be able to see the world through your work, through books, to see what works in certain places and not in other places. And I just felt like for me to start off that way was just like a great way to kind of get started, in a sense.
So when you go on trips like that, and you're in Brazil, you're in Paris, is it just show up, sleep at the hotel next morning, straight to the conference, straight home, straight back to the hotel afterward, or is there actual time to go out and see all the tourist stuff, experience the culture, all that kind of thing?
Well, I definitely try to make a little bit of time to do all that. The book fairs are sort of more of the kind of, you sit in a conference center and people come to you, and then, maybe if you're lucky, you get a couple of days on either end to see things and to move around. And then you have dinners, which are nice, and you can have drinks and talk to people and go places. But I was lucky because most of the trips, when I went to Scandinavia and I went to Russia and I went to France, when I would do those trips, actually, and also Brazil, I didn't do book fairs. I went on sales trips. And so the difference is that I would go and I would, instead of making 10 meetings a day, I would make maybe 4 or 5 meetings a day. And they'd be, breakfast, coffee, lunch, coffee, drink, dinner. So it's a lot of eating and drinking, which is so hard for me. And,
like publishing habits.
Yeah, I think that the eating and the drinking is probably my favorite part of this industry, aside from the reading. But, it's a very, that way, instead of spending like a half an hour with these people and just kind of, basically, saying your list and not having much time to really talk. Like, I think it's really nice to have the relationships with foreign editors and to get to know what they're interested in. And also to be the representative for the literary agency in the U.S. or the foreign publisher in the U.S. Or the U.S. publisher for the foreign publisher. Anyway, you know what I mean. So they would be definitely more conversational, more friendly, because that's the way I like to work too. It's not. I just feel like I love making friends in this industry. Everybody's so interesting and has such a great story and background, and so when you travel for work, you meet so many amazing people. I just feel like, it fills my cup right up. So,
I assume that anybody that's fortunate enough to have you represent them doesn't need to worry about how their foreign rights are going to be handled. They're going to be well taken care of for sure, I imagine.
Well, I think I'll have a good perspective on what would sell. So, when you come to the fact of there might be a publisher who wants to buy world rights and they might have a nice offer. And if I feel that, I generally don't see that book selling very well globally, then it's okay to take that extra money and let the publisher do it. But otherwise, most of the time, I really will prefer to keep all the foreign rights for all of my clients, because I just can't wait to see my friends in foreign countries and tell them about the books that I'm selling, and not just about the books that I'm selling for other people, which is what I've done my whole career. And I love it, and I still love it. But yeah, it's going to be a trip for sure.
Aside from the foreign rights, what other rights would you want to fight to maintain and represent for your client?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I know, obviously, all of the performance and film and TV rights. I know audiobook rights are something that a lot of publishers are trying to get more of, and I would like to try to keep as many as I can, because I think that publishing in general is going in such an interesting direction towards audio. So I think we should sort of watch that space a little bit more. I definitely want to keep as many rights as I can for the author, because no matter what, when I have, when I represent an author, it's the author's, we're deciding what the publisher gets to have, but the author has all of their own rights, and they should have all of their own rights, if that makes sense. So basically, I'll try to keep as much as I can. I'll always try to go into a negotiation just offering North American.
You will never get me to disagree that authors need more. They need more money. They need more rights. They need more control. Everything. Yes. More.
Yes.